Mess with the marching band, march yourself home. I only played a small part in this incident and got the full details of how it occurred after the fact. I went to a very large secondary school, middle plus HIGH school, in the United States with a population of over 4,000 students. Because of the school's size and excellent funding, the marching band had its own percussion equipment, wheeled carts, and golf carts to pull them, which were stored in cargo containers in the back parking lot by some classroom trailers. I was on the equipment crew for the marching band, and by the time my senior year rolled around, the containers were about 30 years old and one had started leaking. The band director, let's call him Mr. Connex, finally was able to get them replaced after begging the administration for several years. The new ones would be arriving on a Friday, and a different company would be hauling away the old ones on Wednesday of the next week. So for a few days the old containers were going to be taking up a section of the parking lot. This wasn't a problem, because the night before after rehearsal, Mr. Connex had us measure out an excessively large section of the back parking lot and cone it off, so the crew would have plenty of room to work the next day. We filled up the band hall with all the equipment and had the containers empty so the crew could move them, put the new ones in their place with minimal effort the next day. This is the part one only heard about because I was in class when it happened. The assistant band director was running the band classes for the first part of the day, and Mr. Connex was outside making sure everything would be just so, when all of a sudden, a lady drives up, narrowly threads the gap between two cones, and parks right in the middle of where the old containers are going to be stored until next week. Let's call her Mrs. Seacon. Mrs. Seacon had an important meeting with her daughter's guidance counselor. Mr. Connex walks over and politely informs her that she will need to park somewhere else because the forklift crew would be arriving soon, and in return she went off on him, complaining that because they had coned off so much of the back parking lot, the nearest parking was off campus and she'd need to walk about a quarter mile to get to the main building from there. Mr. Connex told her one more time that she was parked in the middle of space that the workman needed, and she told him in no uncertain terms to F*** off before heading around towards the front of the building. At this point Mr. Connex called the principal, Dr. Intermiddle, and informed him of the situation. Unfortunately, with the number of buildings on campus and how many guidance counselors there are in a school with over 4,000 students, it would take the better part of an hour to actually figure out where on the campus she had gone and which guidance counselor she was meeting. Our school had over 20. The school resource officer could probably write them a ticket, but that was about all he could do. Calling a tow truck would probably be faster, but even then, it would take about 30 minutes at least to get the car out of the way, and the work crew would be arriving in 10, and any delay would be an unexpected expense for the school. Then, Mr. Connex had an idea. He ran it by Dr. Intermiddle, and the principal ratified it, so he set his plan into motion. When the work crew arrived, several semi-trucks carrying the newer containers and a forklift, Mr. Connex gave them very specific instructions for how to arrange the old containers when they moved them out of the way for the other company to pick up. A perfect box around Mrs. Seacon's car, with barely enough room for a person to step through between the corners. Her sub was going to spend hard time in car jail until Wednesday. Then the new containers were unloaded where the old ones had been, and the work crew left. About an hour later was my band class period, and since being in marching band was a requirement for the symphonic band, everyone in the room was part of the band, so everyone got conscripted to move the equipment back out into the new containers. Some of us noticed the car in the middle of the old containers, but nobody had a chance to ask the director about it until about halfway through the process, when Mrs. Seacon returned and shouted these legendary words which I shall never forget until the day I die. What the F*******? Where the F****** is my car? I can only imagine the sheer terror she felt upon rounding the corner and finding the place where she had parked her car replaced with a giant steel box. To this, Mr. Connex simply, calmly responded, "Exactly where I told you not to park it." At this point literally everyone had stopped working, and the few of us who had noticed the trapped car surmised what had happened and were basically dying of laughter. Mrs. Seacon ran over to the containers and looked through the gap and screamed when she saw there was literally no way for her to get the car out. You fix this right now. You fix this right now, she demanded, storming towards Mr. Connex. He simply shrugged and told her that the containers were getting towed away on Wednesday next week. She could easily retrieve her car then. This only seemed to make her more mad, and at this point me and some of the other larger dudes moved between her and the band director because she looked about ready to bite his head off. At this point, the director essentially delivered the ultimatum that if she had no further business on school grounds she should leave, or he'd call the SRO, school resource officer, a police officer stationed at the school. Her response was something along the lines of, call him. F asterisk 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 ing call him. Show him what you did to my car. That's a crime. I don't know what crime she thought the band director committed, but long story short, the SRO arrived, laughed his ass off, then instructed her to leave school grounds and come back for her car on Wednesday. She screamed at the SRO a bit about how she couldn't walk 4 miles home. Oh, poor you. And the SRO after a few minutes was done with her crap and told her if she didn't leave school grounds immediately she'd be cited for trespassing, at which point she left. The cherry on top, over the weekend someone stole the wheels off the car, so even after the containers were removed she couldn't get her car until one of those portable service companies came and put new wheels on it at some point Friday afternoon. Hope you enjoyed this tale from the distant-ish past, and have a nice night. Over the weekend someone stole the wheels off the car. I mean, oh, how terrible.